So my name is Leo Lahteenmaki, based in Espoo, Finland. And today we are going to talk about Cisco Duo and how that will help you on the journey towards something called Zero Trust. So what's the background here? So, well, this is no news to anybody, but we know that IT is changing rapidly. So applications are moving to the cloud. Right now, we have COVID situation. Users are working from home. We have more and more different kinds of users, business partners, consultants, and also the endpoint is coming more heterogeneous. So not everybody is using the managed endpoint. Now, this brings challenges to the security. So a lot of our legacy security is based on perimeter. So we like to guard the perimeter, see that nothing bad gets into our environment. And also in the perimeter, we get the visibility and we get the control. Now, in this new situation, where is the perimeter? Maybe the perimeter is going away. At least we can say that it's losing importance. So we need new kinds of security controls. The big buzzword in the industry is Zero Trust. So in this Zero Trust world, we should have control to every single access in the network. We should see who is accessing what, and also have a granular segmentation so that nobody can, if there is a breach in some device, that breach cannot access the network any further. Now, this is a nice goal, but it will certainly take a lot of work to achieve. I don't think there will never be a single product that can achieve the full Zero Trust approach. It's a more like an architectural approach, but we can divide this task into 3 use cases. So the first use case would be smart devices. So a smart device could be a surveillance camera, or it could be a smart screen, or any kind of IoT device. And somehow we need to control what these devices do in the network, and they only access the things they should access. And everybody knows that these IoT devices are a big threat for the network because nobody updates them and they have vulnerabilities and all that. Now, another use case would be a workload. Workload being a virtual machine, a container, an application talking to another application using API or whatnot. Now, this is a more use case in the cloud or in the data center, but it is a significant use case because obviously, a lot of data resides behind those apps and in those workloads. But the big use case and the one use case I'm going to talk today is the user use case. How can we control and get visibility to users, what kind of apps do they access, and what device do they use when they access these apps. Now, but before I go to the security, let's talk a little bit about user experience, because strong authentication, we want that it's something that's a pleasure for our end users. It needs to be a good user experience because we want fast deployment, we want low training costs and low user resistance. So a bad authentication solution will be a bad deployment. So let's talk a little bit about Duo user experience. So Duo we like to see is the best in class in multi-factor authentication. So they were the pioneer in push-based authentication, as you can see here, a mobile app where you just swipe and get into an application. It works on every smartphone. It's really easy to use and secure. But when it comes to multi-factor authentication, we need options. Now, a great option is this U2F token. That's great if you need to authenticate often into Windows-based apps. The U2F is very often known by its the biggest brand name, YubiKey. You know, you just take this hardware key, plug it into USB port of your laptop, and then whenever you need to authenticate, just touch a button and you are in. So the user experience is great. Now, another option is a one-time password generator. We have a one-time password generator in the Duo app that you can download from your normal App Store or Android store. This is great if your mobile phone is outside of coverage. So obviously, if the mobile phone cannot be in the internet, you can't get the push into the mobile phone, but you have the soft token. It works fine. Now, what about if Santa Claus brings you a brand new Apple Watch? You know, just use it. You can use Duo in the Apple Watch. If you have a lot of resistance from end users, you can always say that, hey, everybody who uses Duo gets an Apple Watch. I think the resistance will go down significantly. Some people still use hardware tokens. They are quite fine. There are a couple of standards in hardware tokens. We support them. You can have hardware tokens from Duo if you want, but we support third party. The user experience is not great, but hey, it works. Now, one key part of any multi-factor authentication project is enrolling new users. And this is a workflow that Duo has spent a lot of time in. So we can enroll thousands of users in hours. It only takes a minute to enroll one user. A really good experience. And what this means is that you have few or no support calls. So lower cost to enroll your users. Now, after the users are enrolled, let's say you get this Apple Watch, or maybe you get a YubiKey two-factor token. You can add that as a self-service. No need to contact anybody. Everything is self-service and no support calls for that. Now, the best of all is single sign-on. Now, the idea here is that when you come to work in the morning, well, you can come to work at home as well. You start work in the morning, you authenticate once, and then different web apps use SAML standard to talk with this authentication service, and you can access all your services with that one authentication. Now, here we have this little tick box which says that remember me for 10 days. Well, that is a bit long time, I think, but that's completely tunable in the policy. For example, in Cisco, we have 8 hours. So we authenticate once, and then for 8 hours, the user experience is seamless. Now, from security point of view, there is just one password to remember. There is just one password policy. This one password gets changed regularly, and we have a central control for cloud usage, which brings me to the next topic. So we talked about great end user experience. Now, what about the increased security? So passwords, everybody knows that they are dangerous. We get phishing emails weekly or daily. So in the future, when we go to this perimeterless security world, we need to protect all applications. It's not just the perimeter that's important, it's also the applications inside our perimeter or perimeter that doesn't exist anymore. We need full coverage. So typically the way this goes is that everybody has had strong authentication in VPN, at least for the last 20 years. And obviously we support all the main VPN vendors there. The next step typically is the cloud apps. The cloud apps are, in the cloud, everybody can access them. You want to have strong authentication there. So obviously, that's a place where you want to deploy Duo. Email type of things. A very common use case that people take next is admin jump hosts. So you might have a few Windows desktops, virtual desktops, or maybe some Linux SSH servers, and you want to have a strong security on these, so that nobody is able to phish the password of admin, because then that bad things will happen. We already talked about a single sign-on. Why not provide this great user experience to your users, where they have a single password, single sign-on, whether they go to make their expenses in Concur app or do their sales in SFDC or log a case in ServiceNow, a single authentication. Now, the great thing about Duo is that it has this huge number of integrations and the plethora of different technologies that you can integrate to different applications. At this point, I would like to bring up one particular thing about Duo, which is really nice for administrators, and that is the documentation. So Duo documentation that you can access freely, no password, and nothing required, is just fantastic. It's way better than anything we have at Cisco, and I would say it's better than I've seen anything in the industry. So if you want to integrate with some platform, let's say Shibboleth, for example, just Google Duo Security Shibboleth, and you will find step-by-step detailed instructions on how to get the job done, usually accompanied with a nice video that shows you everything. So just an example, here is an operating system called Microsoft Windows. Let's have a strong authentication to Microsoft Windows. Typically used for admin users or consultants, partners in jump hosts, a very typical use case. But if you're using Linux, here is an example of plain old SSH connection to a Linux server. Give your password, and then you are given the option to do a multi-factor authentication. I chose here to do a push using my mobile phone, and then I'm in. Just two real simple examples. But what about the centralized policy enforcement? Now, as you know, in the Zero Trust, it's not enough that we authenticate people. We also need to control who can access what in our environment. So let's see how Duo achieves that. Well, here is an example of user-based policy. Let's say you don't want that people in Poland access your cloud service in the cloud. Well, easy to do. We have geo IP. More common use case would be to only admit users into this particular cloud app from your own network. So then you put your IP addresses here and then access is allowed only from there. Well, this is something that Cisco does, for example, and it's a common complaint. Why do we have to VPN in to access Salesforce.com? Hey, but it is a policy, and that's the way it is right now. And Duo helps you to do that. We can also have device-based policies. So, you know, even if you have a user who is strongly authenticated, you probably don't want him to use kids' gaming PC to access your customer database. Now, the authentication is strong, but what if the gaming PC has a keyboard logger and a screen scraper installed? Everything he does goes to the bad guys. Not a good thing to have. So we can check the devices. Only managed devices can access these applications. We can check the posture of the endpoint. Is the browser, is the operating system patched? Now, here is an example of such a policy. Now, we have an organization which uses AWS. There's a lot of virtual machines, containers, whatnot running. The sales does not have the right to create new virtual machines, but engineering does. But there is a catch. You can only create virtual machines, meaning you can only access the AWS administrative panel if you are on a managed endpoint. So if you are using your own laptop, which is not managed, then you can't get in. But if you have a managed company asset, then you can get into the panel. Excuse me. No. What if the endpoint is out of date? There is old software, unpatched software, old browser. Let's help end user to fix this. So we'll give him a notification, you know, please update your machine, and we will walk him or her through the process. So let's make it as easy for the end user as possible. And this is to reduce the support calls. Of course, there can be a policy that if the user still does not update the endpoint, then we'll block the access. And then he needs to fix this issue before he can get back into the system. Now, as you remember, a key point about Zero Trust is visibility. How to get visibility into user logins, what they are accessing, how to get visibility into what kind of devices the users are using, what operating system, what is the security posture level, are they patched, are they up to date? You get all that visibility in one dashboard. You also get visibility into the mobile phones of the users, because the mobile phone where you have the Duo app shown here in the picture, it's a key part of the chain. So if that mobile phone is hacked, I know it doesn't happen very often, but it's possible. Now, if it's hacked, then the whole chain is compromised. So we can also see that the mobile phone has an up-to-date operating system, it's not rooted, it has a screen lock on, etc. All this is, by the way, done without having to provide any extra rights to the app, meaning that the user can just normally install the app from the App Store. You know, it's a very small app, only takes a couple of 20 seconds or so, and no need to do anything special with the app. Very easy onboarding there as well. Now, with the Zero Trust approach, we saw that you know, Duo can help you do policy-based controls for users. We can see what kind of devices they use, and we can have policies for the types of devices they can use to access certain applications. We get visibility, and we get this visibility even when users are at home, not starting their VPN, accessing the cloud applications directly. So this works in this perimeterless security model. Now, Duo is not the only solution for Zero Trust. Duo does not segment your network. You need to look for other security controls in segmentation. So, for example, in Cisco architecture, we have identity services engine to segment your networks. We have a tetration to provide segmentation and control for your workloads in the cloud and in your data center. We also, Duo does not work with smart devices. If you have some healthcare equipment or smart screen or whatever, Duo does not help you there. Identity services engine is the better fit for that. But Duo is a great, easy to implement tool that brings you a huge step closer to Zero Trust when we are talking about strong authentication and control of users, their devices in this new security where there is no perimeter and users are wherever apps are in the cloud. You have unmanaged endpoints, consultants, partners everywhere, and you need to manage all this heterogeneous environment centrally in one place. Now, if you want to learn more, duo.com, a great resource. You can get the free trial, just clicking that link there. And I would like also to bring up that there is a free version of Duo available. When you make the free trial, you get the better license. Then after a couple of weeks, it turns into a free license, which is where you can have 10 users, and you have the basic multi-factor authentication capabilities. So, for example, if you have a smartphone, smart home, and want to secure the access to your smart home assets from the internet with strong authentication, hey, it's free and it's available, and it's a market-leading MFA solution. So with that, I have come to the end of my presentation, and I would be really glad to take any questions if you have any.